it is time. I now have a brand new machine once again to unbox. Well, for some reason. Yes, first the M1 Mac Mini, now I've got the M1 MacBook Pro. What a moment. Well, I mean, not really, because I mean, people have already unboxed and benchmarked these things, but I guess it's my turn. So here's this machine. I might be asking, well, what's this? This is my current machine, a 2014 MacBook Pro, and it's been a pretty good machine. I like the keyboard, and the form factor is really quite nice, but it's getting a little bit on the dated side, and well, I think it was probably overdue for an upgrade because it doesn't really like Big Sur too much. It tends to struggle with some of the animations, and you know, admittedly, I do miss the Force Touch trackpad, so it's like whatever. But yeah, good old Intel is starting to really show its age on Big Sur, so I figured, see if I can recoup some of the money out of this to, you know, cover this. And I also was smart, and when I was getting this machine, I ended up going for a dock, so that would have something. It's better than nothing, I guess. But now, on to the main meat and potatoes. So I guess it's got the base model with 8 gigs of memory and 256 gigs of storage, which, I mean, yeah, it's not the best config, but it's whatever. I'm not, like, permanently keeping this. I mean, if I'm going to make a serious, like, actual workstation sort of investment thing, I'm going to just get one machine and spec it out really nicely. But since I can't get 32 gigs of RAM right now, well, I'm not going to go dumping all that money onto this stuff. So it's like, you know, it is what it is. So I guess now for the glorious moment, let's pull the frosted piece of plastic with an arrow on it. Hey, nice, just popped in the ice maker, nice. I'm not gonna be like one of those purist people that decide to, you know, oh my gosh, gotta save the plastic. I mean, you're weird if you're like that. I'm not saying you can't, but you know, just saying, you know, you're a little weird. This might take 2 hands. All right, time for the grand opening that everybody just loves so much. Well, it's definitely vacuum sealed tight, I can tell you that much. Oh wow, yeah, that's really vacuum sealed tight. Jeez. Wow. Man, that smell. Man, they're not joking about that. It's definitely unique. I can guarantee you that much. Anyways. Wow. It's not really that much thinner compared to the one I have, which is basically the previous body style. It's really not that much different. It's just a little bit thinner, actually. Not that I'd be too magically concerned, because of course, you know, it's whatever. But yeah. Very nice. I got the Space Gray one, obviously, because who wouldn't get a Space Gray Pro? So in here, obviously, is the USB-C to USB-C cable that you would need for charging. And of course, since they haven't ditched the power brick from this thing yet, it still has a power brick. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the 61 watt, since this is just the 13-inch, which even admittedly is kind of a bit excessive, but it's whatever. So inside, I guess I can switch camera angles for this before I go too crazy, but it's whatever, really. Yeah, you get your little documentation thing. Of course, I'm not going to go into too crazy detail because I'm sure that this has already been covered, but it's like, you know, you get your quick start guide that kind of shows you the touch bar, the touch ID, the basics of the operating system, little warranty thingamajig, and you get 2 Space Gray Apple stickers. And I want to say that is it, because the rest of this is kind of just a filler if you think about it. There's like nothing else that you can really pull out of here. So yeah, it just goes back inside the package. But I do need to unwrap the other stuff. Nice paper on the charge brick here. Not like I'm saving this paper anyway. Oh yeah. Enjoy the glossy power brick while there's no scratches and fingerprints on it. Okay, that time's up. All right, time for the rest of the unwrapping here. I do like Apple's attention on this little piece of paper that they use to secure the cable. Like, that's actually a pretty clever way to do it without using a bunch of unnecessary material, although I can't say that this is particularly necessary, but, you know, it's whatever. Overall, this is I uncoiled that wrong. This is a nice thick cable. I mean, I know everybody with their like Apple cables, it's like, oh, it's gonna destroy itself in like 3 seconds, even though I've literally never had an Apple cable disintegrate. So y'all just take care of your crap weird. Not my problem. Okay. I'm gonna jump cut to when I actually like, do all this other stuff. I'm gonna get a better angle and then we'll juice this thing up for the first time. All right, time to go wide angle, even though it's probably not going to look the best, but believe me, I'm trying. So, all right, let me make sure that this is in frame. It probably is. Oh my goodness. That is an experience indeed. I mean, it's not really that special. Like I said, it's already been covered a lot, but yeah, this is my first time looking at a MacBook Pro, if you think about it, really. Still kind of is. Man, that thing is crazy thin. It doesn't feel much different comparative to the old one. It's just the old one's a little bit thicker and heavier, whereas the new one is definitely a little bit thinner and a little bit more lightweight. And it's also got the stainless steel looking Apple logo, whereas this one obviously has got the old backlit one, although this one's cracked, so oof. But, it's whatever. All right, let's get this framed up a little bit better here. Whoop, almost hit stop record. That would have been a real smart idea, wouldn't it have been? Okay. Make sure that I don't have this autofocus crap locked. And here we go. It's probably going to auto power on when I open the lid. Yep, called that one. There's a nice piece of paper. Jiminy Christmas, look at that. Oh, there goes the touch bar, I forgot. This has a touch bar, all right. So, you can see that's all nicely lit up down here.
To use English as the main language, press the return key.
Man, those speakers are good. Like, I know that people have always complimented the speakers on these things, and definitely the old one was no exception, but man, that was surprisingly deep, like, sound, like, not bad at all. Anyways, and it's been a while since I've used the Force Touch trackpad too, so it's definitely going to take some getting used to, but that shouldn't be too bad anyway. All right. Don't need any accessibility things. All right, I'm going to have to connect this to my Wi-Fi, so one moment. In fact, actually, since there's no point in showing the setup because this is just Big Sur, I'm going to just skip to when I'm at the desktop because I'm obviously going to have to log into my Apple ID. And since my internet is awfully slow, I'm not going to bore you all with trying to wait through that and the Touch ID setup and all that stuff. So I'll just do that stuff off camera. Plus, I'm going to get some pizza, so E. It's actually been a couple of days since the last clip I recorded, so I figured I'd post a little bit of an update as to my first impressions since, well, I mean, gotta end this video somehow in some positive way. And all I have to say so far about this machine is, wow, the performance is absolutely impressive. And I mean, I've already had the wow factor from the M1 Mac Mini, so that's no surprise here that this basically feels identical. But I mean, having it in a laptop form is just even more crazy, to me at least, because overall, I mean, this thing just feels very fast. And I can say that for a lot of machines, but I haven't really had a Mac that feels this fast. And, well, I guess I could have had a fast machine had I gotten 16 gigs of RAM, but, I wasn't going to wait until like mid-May or late May to have to get that. So it's like, it's whatever. And as I said at the beginning of the video, of course, this isn't really going to be like the permanent machine, at least for a little while. I mean, I'm going to hang on to it for obviously a while because I'm going to make use of the money I spent, but, it's whatever. But I do have some thoughts about some of the stuff, and I figured I'd share them here just so that way I've got a little bit of a roundup opinion sort of deal going on here. So to get some of the quick stuff out of the way, of course, the display is gorgeous, but I was used to that with my old Retina MacBook Pro, but still, I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous display with a nice pixel density and pretty good colors and good brightness and everything. Like, it's a great display. Webcam is a webcam, so nothing really to report on there. Apparently, people have said that the microphone on this thing sounds really good, and, obviously I can attest to that because this thing's apparently got some improved microphones, but it must sound really good, so I'm gonna have to try it myself. And here's that test of the microphones on the M1 MacBook Pro. Moving on, we have the keyboard, which of course this is the Magic Keyboard, so it's got the improved scissor switch keys that were found in the 16-inch MacBook Pro and later to be the 2020 MacBook Air and so on and so forth. And I've heard these keyboards are pretty good, and then I tried one myself, and you know what, I can actually test that. I got over 110 words per minute on a typing test with this machine, so I guess that kind of confirms that it's pretty good as a keyboard, and obviously I've got no complaints there. The trackpad is kind of big, but actually it's come in handy for, you know, its physical size quite a bit, and I do kind of miss having the Force Touch feature. I can see myself using that again, because I honestly, like, going back to the old diving board trackpads kind of threw me off a little bit from when I had my old 2015 MacBook Pro back in late 2018. So, you know how it goes. I shouldn't have gotten rid of that machine, but it's whatever. Now, the one thing I am going to comment on is going to be the touch bar. I've got some mixed feelings about it, of course, as some people would have. I do like the Touch ID feature. That is going to be super handy to have, but the touch bar, I'm kind of partial to it. I mean, I like it and I also dislike it. I do like that it's programmable. So for example, let's say you have Spotify. So if I open that up here, you can see the controls change for Spotify. Or if you go into GarageBand, you can see the controls change for the instrument, or, you know, say your generalized playback or whatever you want to pick, or say you're in Firefox, well, then you can have, well, functions. So, you know, it's all pretty cool. Finder doesn't really have much in the way of anything. You know, System Preferences has a show all button. If you go into About This Mac, you know, you get these, and, you know, that's cool and all, but it's like, the functionality is nice to have, but do I really need it? Like, no. I've poked at it a couple of times, yes, but it's not like it's a crucial feature. Most of the time, it'd be nice to just have like the row of functions where you have the playback controls, your volume controls. I don't really care for Siri, keyboard backlight, screen backlight, launch pad, which I've changed the default Siri key to just be Launchpad in this case because I use that more than I do Siri on my Mac anyway. So, you know, it is what it is. And it's I actually find this key more useful, you know, the one where you bring up the emojis rather than, say, you know, the touch bar. But, you know, it's my opinion, and obviously, you know, other people are going to probably agree or disagree. The one thing I've been most impressed about with this machine has been the sound. Like, holy crap, the speakers on this thing are so good. I'm not going to like pull up some kind of audio clip right now, but just take my word for it. It's really good. I've actually been quite happy with it, and, you know, it is what it's been quite an impressive set of speakers. Like, for a 13-inch machine, I got to keep that in mind. Obviously, if you have a larger machine, you're going to have larger, better speakers, but like, we don't have that with Apple Silicon yet, so kind of have to take your word for a 13-inch, but I'm sure the previous generation ones sounded really good too, but this one definitely sounds really good. Now, I haven't really done too much with getting USB-C native peripherals yet, because I've been using that adapter that I bought, and that's come in handy because I needed to connect this thing up to HDMI displays, and that adapter has HDMI that sticks up going this way, so it's come in handy. I haven't used the headphone jack on either of the adapters, but I obviously am going to need that, so that's kind of a given. But I mean, overall, what a wonderful machine. It's not perfect. Obviously, I wish there was 4 USB-C ports, but that was also a limitation on the Mac Mini and the MacBook Air. So, you know, this is kind of the entry-level machine, if you will, with only the 2 ports, because, you know, the higher-end Intel MacBook Pros and the 13-inch size also have the 4 ports on the side, but that's just the Intel models. And I'm not really the biggest touch bar person, but, you know, I'll get used to it. But mostly, this machine has left me with some positive feedback so far. Really quite happy with it. And, you know, at this point, I could basically wrap up this portion of the video with, I guess, answering kind of one of the obvious questions of, should I buy it? You know, if someone wants to ask that question. And my response to that would definitely be, if you're willing to make the transition to Apple Silicon yet. And I know a lot of people are going to be Windows users or they're going to be using Intel Macs, and they're going to be like, well, I can't have 32 gigs of RAM. I don't have a discrete graphics card. I don't have HDMI or an SD card slot or USB-A ports or whatever. And, you know, those are all valid points, absolutely. But I do have to keep in mind, you know, the architecture is different. It's based on ARM. It's not Intel's x86 or the 64-bit whatever. So, you know, obviously things are going to be rough right now with the app compatibility and performance. But what I've seen so far, I mean, even with games and other apps on my machine that aren't even Apple Silicon native, like Discord still requires Rosetta. And in the case of Tunes Henry Written, that also requires Rosetta. I think Spotify does. Could be wrong on that, though. But there's some Apple Silicon native stuff, like, you know, Messenger, I think, is Apple Silicon native. Don't quote me on that, but it's in the Mac App Store, so I would assume that it is. Firefox is definitely Apple Silicon native. iMovie is, and there's probably some other things that I have yet to do. Mac's fan control is obviously Apple Silicon native because they updated it. So, you know, there's stepping stones to have to achieve, but at the end of the day, this is what the Mac's going to, and obviously I'm going to jump on the bandwagon now because what I've got is super old, and I'm not going to pay for overpriced Intel garbage. Let's just put it that way. I mean, I'm not saying that the old Intel stuff was bad. I'm just saying, like, the market is just supremely overpriced, and so it's actually more sensible to go brand new at the moment than to go with an Intel machine, at least for what I'm going to do with my machine. So honestly, I think I'm willing to help with the data collection, I guess, if you will, on trying to get stuff prepared for native Apple Silicon usage and whatnot. So anyways, that's enough of my rambling anyways. So I'm going to wrap up this video and get it put up on the tubes. So hopefully you like what you saw. And if you did, well, then you know what to press. If you didn't like it so much, well, then you know what to press as well. Get subscribed down below. Click the bell so you don't miss when I upload new videos. And with that having been said, thank you all for coming to watch, and I'll see you all in the next video.